Welcome to Psychic Insights, where pop culture meets higher consciousness and the tea is always a little bit mystical. I'm Robin Richardson, your psychic girlfriend, and around here we don't just watch the drama unfold, we read the energy behind it, whether it's celebrity scandals, reality TV, chaos, or true crime with a twist. I'm tuning in to bring you the intuitive scoop the headlines miss. So buckle up, because your aura's about to get entertained. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin Richardson, your psychic girlfriend, and today we're going to cover the Golden Bachelor episode 5. I'm calling it the illusion of depth and the women who are seeing through it. And every season has a turning point, that moment when what looks like the search for love starts to reveal the truth underneath. Episode 5 had it all. And I've got to say, this episode is disappointing because the lead they chose is just not quite there. But let's talk about it, okay? This wasn't about mud baths or shamans or spiritual enlightenment. It was about energy and what's real and what's performative and who's awake enough to tell the difference, because what we watched wasn't just a group of women falling for a man. It was a group of women realizing he might not have the emotional range to meet them. Okay, Mel's nice looking. He seems polite. He's composed, but he's just not present. Remember Gary Turner from the first Golden Bachelor? He was present. That's what impressed me about him. Yeah, he's got his flaws. He's a man. We're all human, right? But Mel's calmness isn't groundedness. It seems like it's avoidance. And if you've ever dated someone like that, I have, you know, the quiet can be safe at first. It can feel like stability until you realize that the silence of someone is the silence of someone who's actually not in the moment with you. And we saw this. And I know the show's heavily edited, but wouldn't they show like more depth if he actually had it? I think so. They just don't have anything with this guy. All right. So we have the spiritual enlightenment. So Mel thinks it's a great idea. Let's do a spiritual retreat. I'm a spiritual gal. I'm an intuitive and psychic, and I'd be so down for that. So I'm like, oh, cool. And Shaman Danny walks in the full stereotype shamanist. And, okay, let's do it. So, you know, it opened up with everyone writing down one word, something that they'd like to let go of. And you can always tell where someone's consciousness is by what they choose. And the ladies, they choose hopelessness and, you know, words like that, things that are meaningful and what they're, you know, I don't feel like I am worthy, or I'd like to let go of the loneliness or whatever, you know. Mel chose friction. Friction? That's not an emotion. That's resistance dressed up as awareness. Friction happens when truth meets denial. It's what you feel when your soul knows something's off, but your ego keeps performing the script. Meanwhile, the women chose words rooted in emotion, vulnerability, hope, and trust. They're doing their inner work on national television. And he's just trying to get through the episode, right? The exercise. He's not a spiritual guy. He's got a lot of work to do. And I say that with compassion and some criticism, because you're on a show about finding love later in life. And what you're showing, sadly, what you're showing is some men just can't get there, may never have that capacity. And as a single woman who would love to share her life with someone, that's kind of depressing that this is what we're seeing on national television. What we actually experience is men who are not emotionally available. Anyway, we're starting to see the process of separation, and women are in the process, and Mel's still doing his performance, which, oh my God. Anyway, they probably should have gotten like an acting coach for him. Anyway, now Carol's moment was everything. And I was cheering for her. So we had Cheryl in the ice bath. We had Peg in the mud bath. We had Debbie doing tantra, yoga. And I'm out. And you know what? Tantra is really about making meaningful connections. So we didn't see that with Mel. Debbie, she's all about it, right? But she has to recognize that there's no emotional connection with this guy. There's nothing. He's performative. But Carol, love Carol. She didn't need a shaman to tell her what her intuition already knew. The connection wasn't mutual. She is an empowered woman. Instead of over-explaining or waiting to be chosen, she simply said, this isn't it. Oh my God, Carol, you are amazing. That's a spiritual milestone that most people never reach. The ability to walk away without resentment or justification. She showed us her vulnerability. She showed us that it hurt, but her energy was clear. I honor what I felt, but I'm not going to negotiate for resonance. That's the definition of alignment. And I applaud it. And I'm here for it. And I love that we got to witness that. Then we have Nicolle. She came into this week trying to blend truth with control, and it just didn't land. She overshared about her financial situation and her business aspirations, maybe thinking transparency would create intimacy. But that wasn't intimacy, it was strategy. And there's nothing wrong with ambition or self-promotion, especially for women who have had to rebuild themselves. But energy doesn't lie. You can feel when someone's there for exposure versus when they're there for expansion. And Nicolle's energy this week said, I'm here for my next chapter, not necessarily my next partner. And if I am here for my next partner, he's going to have some gold. He's going to have some cash. She screams of desperation, and I can't stand it. Even the kiss, the one that looked made for camera angles more than chemistry, and she mentioned it. Let's kiss for the cameras. It wasn't sensual or connected. It was calculated. From an empowered woman's lens, and believe me, I've been working on myself, my own secure attachment style, and I have been very successful with it. It's not necessarily a failure, but it's a reminder that women are allowed to play the game too. But when you do, it's important to know what you're really trading energy for. Because as I said in earlier episodes, you can find love and promote your brand on this show. Can you? Maybe. Only if the brand is your truth. Otherwise, the performance starts to eclipse the person. And I think that's what happened with Nicolle. When Nicolle shared her financial and creative goals, Mel's energy changed. You could see it. He pulled back, not visibly angry, just subtly dismissive. You could feel the judgment behind his polite expression. And that's how emotionally unavailable men often mask discomfort. They go quiet, not out of compassion, but out of avoidance. It's what happens when someone mistakes composure for emotional intelligence. They still think stillness equates stability, but it's really suppression. Mel isn't malicious. He's just not evolved enough. He's not evolved enough to sit in someone else's complexity. And that's the real friction, not between him and the women, but between who he thinks he is and who he actually shows up as. And when you strip away the format, the lights, the Golden Bachelor is really a spiritual classroom. It's showing us in real time how energy exposes truth faster than words ever will. Every woman this week met a mirror. Carol's reflected self-trust, Nicole's reflected the tension between authenticity and agenda, and Mel's reflected the cost of staying emotionally asleep while pretending to be enlightened. But next week, when the families feel the energy, Mel can't hide from the families. They're not buying into what Mel's selling. You can feel the hesitation in their tone, the guarded body language. The families are the energetic gatekeepers. They pick up on what their loved ones can't yet articulate. And it looks like they're already questioning the depth that Mel keeps suggesting he has, but never actually demonstrates. That's the thing about pretending to be conscious. You can say all the right words, but energy doesn't lie. And next week, it looks like Mel's mask starts to slip, and I'm here for it. Episode 5 wasn't about love, it was about awareness, and it showed us how women evolve faster when they listen to themselves, and how men get stuck when they keep mistaking niceness for connection. This wasn't a spiritual retreat, it was a revelation. And for anyone watching, the real question isn't who will Mel choose. It's who will stop choosing the illusion. So ladies, if you're watching, I hope you choose yourselves over this guy. And I hope you choose depth over a pretty face. And for Mel, I hope you do the work. I really do. But somehow I think that you've been tackled out of a personality and a soul. But I hope you find it. And I mean that. I think you deserve love just as much as anyone does. But that can't happen until you start to wake up to who you really are and show us some real depth, if it's there. And I'm Robin Richardson, and if you like this, subscribe, ring the bell, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next week because I cannot wait. I may be joined by my friend Julie, who is also in her 60s, and we are people who have dated, who've loved, who've lost, and who still hope, like the women on this show, that we could find real love with someone of substance. Otherwise, staying single is a great deal. And I'll see you in the next one.